Hello, this is TVCL, and welcome to the Practically True podcast. Sedevacantism is Catholicism. Instead of being distinct from Catholicism, Sedevacantism is simply the name for the position that there is currently no valid pope occupying the Holy See. In fairness, if this position were not true, a Catholic holding it would be a schismatic. However, if Sedevacantism is true, it is simply the continuation of the same Catholicism that has existed for millennia. To say that Sedevacantism can be proved with pure reason alone would be an exaggeration. Yet, despite how apparently large, controversial, and improbable the conclusion is that the current pope is an impostor, the proof of this is very straightforward and only requires a few crucial bits of data. With these in hand, it is a simple logical progression to the proof. Let's begin with the outline. The current pope, and indeed all of the popes since the end of the Second Vatican Council, have not been legitimate because they have been heretics. They have been heretics because the teachings of the Council contain heresy. As such, according to canon law, those who have knowingly promulgated such teaching have lost their office. What is the proof of this? Firstly, let's look at canon law. In particular, Canon 188.4. Please note that this is from the 1917 edition of the canon. This law states, quote, "Through tacit resignation, accepted by the law itself, all offices become vacant, ipso facto, and without any declaration, if a cleric has publicly forsaken the Catholic faith." Forsaken translates to deficiit in the original Latin of the canon, which means to fail or to let down. What's more, the Latin term ipso facto means by virtue of the very fact. Therefore, when the law states that an office, any office, including the papal office, becomes vacant when a cleric has publicly failed the faith, this vacancy is mandated by the very failure itself. A cleric forsakes or fails the faith when they are guilty of public heresy. What constitutes heresy? Formal heresy occurs when a member of the Church knowingly understands what it teaches, yet freely rejects it. Do the Second Vatican documents contain heresy? Yes. Arguably, it can be difficult to determine when a given teaching contradicts the infallible teaching of the Catholic Church, because not all of her teachings are regarded as infallible. However, she has a set of dogmas which are in the class of dogmas known as de fide. De fide dogmas are not only infallible, but essential and unchangeable parts of the faith. There is at least one place in which a Second Vatican document contradicts de fide dogma. The Second Vatican document, Nostra Aetate, contains the following passage, quote, "The Church regards with esteem also the Muslims. They adore the one God, living and subsiding in himself, merciful and all-powerful, the creator of heaven and earth. Though they do not acknowledge Jesus as God, they revere him as a prophet." End quote. Hence, this passage states that Muslims adore the same God as Catholics, but they do not recognize that Jesus is God. In Latin, the word for adore in this passage is adorant, which does not only refer to adoration, but also to reverence and worship. Therefore, Nostra Aetate states that Muslims and Catholics worship the same God, though Muslims do not regard Jesus as this God. Now, according to church dogma, 1. Quote, In God there are three persons, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Each of these three persons possesses the one numerical divine essence. This is de fide dogma. 2. Quote, the three divine persons are in one another. This is also de fide dogma. And 3. Quote, Jesus Christ is true God and true Son of God. This is also de fide dogma. By equating the Muslim God with the Christian God, Nostra Aetate denies the godhood of Jesus. Therefore, this Second Vatican document contradicts no fewer than 3 de fide dogmas. Therefore, the Second Vatican Council has, through its documents, produced heresy. If the Second Vatican documents contain heresy, does this implicate the popes? Yes. It is simply absurd to posit that the popes are unaware of de fide dogma, or that the popes since the Second Vatican Council were unaware of what its documents contained. As such, whether the popes since the Council have directly professed all of its teachings or allowed it to be promulgated, they have accepted the heretical teaching. What's more, heresy, to be properly judged as heresy, needs to be both public and pertinacious. This means that if someone spreads a false doctrine, this needs to be public and persistent in the face of criticism, in order for it to be properly considered as heresy. The Second Vatican Council documents are public and have been criticized as heresy since their release. Yet, the popes, the most public figures in the Church, have not denounced or retracted their teachings. This would include the heresy in Nostra Aetate. Therefore, the documents of the Second Vatican Council contain heresy, and the popes since the Council are implicated in this heresy because it is a heresy that is public and has received criticism from its inception. Yet, the popes have allowed this heresy to be promulgated, giving their approval of these heretical ideas and allowing them to flow through the Church. Therefore, the popes since the Council have been material heretics. Therefore, being material heretics, these popes have forsaken the Catholic faith. Therefore, according to Canon 188.4, having forsaken the Catholic faith, these popes, including the current impostor in Rome, have, by the very fact of being heretics, forfeited and indeed vacated their office. Therefore, there has not been a valid pope since the Second Vatican Council. Therefore, the seat of St. Peter is empty. And so, that's the argument in a nutshell. Or at least, that's one way to make it. So long as one has a few key bits of information, a clear, simple case for Sedevacantism can be made. Once more, here is a summary of the argument. According to canon law, heretics, having forsaken the Catholic faith, lose their office by the very fact of their heresy, so long as this heresy is public and persists in the face of criticism. The documents of the Second Vatican Council contain heresy. As just one example, they try to deny the godhood of Jesus Christ by equating him with the God of Islam, contradicting de fide dogma. Having promulgated this teaching, and many others, the popes, since the Council, have been public and persistent heretics. Therefore, these popes have forfeited their office and have been invalid. Therefore, Sedevacantism is true. Thank you for your time.